So, Marcella, a lot of people in the political world outside of New Jersey think that New Jersey is in play, that it's a swing state. What do you think as a New Jerseyer?
100%. Look at the numbers. We are a majority moderate state, so center left, center right. But obviously blue state in terms of the numbers. And this past general election, I mean, 20% of the population is Hispanic, Latinos. And so we really came out to vote and made that big swing. So yes, 100% New Jersey is a swing state. We're on the map finally. It took us a long time, but all that fighting we've done internally and pushing for issues that really mattered to the locals showed in numbers this past general election.
So, Marcella, you mentioned the big Hispanic population, particularly in northern New Jersey, and nationally, Hispanics are moving politically, materially to the political right. We're here in an Italian deli, okay, but you're Hispanic. Italians used to be reliably Democratic voters and have very much shifted. Is the same thing going on with Hispanics in New Jersey?
Yeah, 100%. It's our core values. We were always, or Latinos' core values are very traditional, right? We like the home. We're homemakers. As mothers, as women, we're still raised that we run the household. We're the primary, homemakers. We're still challenged to go to work and then still provide for our families and have independence and become successful. But primarily, it's all our families. And I think Italians have the same vein, same thread. And in New Jersey, that was threatened very heavily. COVID, locking down the schools, not being able to send our kids to school. I mean, that's where I kind of lost my mind in 2020. My parents moved us from Ecuador in 1983 so that we can have a better life, so we can have an education. And in 2020, my children who were born here, first generation, can't go to school. Like, that's wrong. And I think a lot of moms like me came out strong and then started to peel back the onion, look under the hood, understand what's happening in schools, all this DEI, equity, diversity, gender fluidity. They're talking about it to my little guy who's now 10. He was 5. No. And that's when the Latino community came out in strong numbers. It's not going to happen in our home. Like, that overreach was a no-go from the start. And I think COVID helped from that perspective to shed light on what was going on. So, thank God to COVID in one sense that allowed us to stay home. Like, moms like me are now working from home, right? Successful careers, have a little more downtime with this hybrid community, starting to peek at what's happening locally. And then sure enough, some funky stuff was going on with our kids. And I think that's why the Latino community has come out in droves and continue to.
Mm-hmm. And you didn't just get mad on the couch, though, right? You got activated. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So again, 2020, my kids can't go to school, right? This is America. Like, it's the foundation of it's the fabric of our freedoms. And I reached out to a friend who was involved in politics. I couldn't even spell the word politics. Okay, let's just, for the record, couldn't spell the word.
Love it.
But I couldn't watch nothing happen. So I was part of the 2020 congressional campaign, District 11. Rosemary Becky ran for Congress against Mikey Sherrill. And we worked really hard on getting the issues out. And I learned a little bit about the political play in New Jersey, and it's pretty ugly, right? But if you focus on the issues, that's when the people matter. That's when you get the working and the middle class really behind you. And Rosemary had a huge following. And then once Mikey Sherrill came out, just dirty politics, just fighting under the belt, which was kind of, I didn't appreciate it as a woman. I would think she'd be a little more educated. Being a veteran herself, she could have used better tactics to get her message out, but she didn't have a message. It was all about gaining political control so they can do what they want and not focus on the issues that the people matter. And so that's kind of what I learned. During the actual election day, I participated as a challenger, watched the dirty politics there, watch the votes not go to where they belonged. I mean, they called the state. They called New Jersey at not 8:15 p.m. The polls closed at 8 o'clock. I watched from the polls section that I was sitting on, I watched it go to Newark, and it was a good 30 minutes for it to have reached Newark. When I went back to my couch 10 minutes later, New Jersey, they called the state. I'm like, how do you call the state when half the votes are still on its way to being counted? So you can't tell me it wasn't rigged, right? And so, but seeing that gave me this energy to still continue to evolve. I mean, I cried. I don't cry. I cried because I felt like, violated, like you stole my voice. So, November, December, January, a bunch of us regrouped and then rebranded Jersey First, a true grassroots advocacy organization. I didn't even know the meaning of advocacy, right? Learned that too. Oh, that means you speak out, like you're speaking out. And Jersey First is turned out to be one of the best advocacy organizations in New Jersey. True grassroots, true working class, true middle class, true focused on issues for the people, right? And and our mantra or our mission is to, make New Jersey a better place to live, learn, work, and retire, because we really can. It is one of the most beautiful states. We have everything, right? To the north, we have mountains and some snow peaks and some skiing. And then the shore, we have this awesome shoreline. And we're so close to the city to work. So we have a little bit of everything. It is a beautiful, we get this negative stigma, right? Which we need to shut down. But now we're in the map, to your point. We're a swing state. People are starting to look at us, and we're really now hitting the ground, making the true issues the focus for our politicians to listen to us, right? And we're coming into this governor's race, right? Jersey First and our Policy Institute, New Jersey Policy Institute, are going to knock on doors on all the candidates and then give them a playbook of what the people want. Like, we need a better education system. We need true school choice. And it's very low-hanging fruit. We're not asking for more money. We're asking for an existing inter-district program to actually be statewide. And there's no more money to be had. This budget, and so just listen to the people's voice. And Jersey First brings that, and I'm part of that too. So watch out, governor candidates. We're coming on behalf of moms, working families, right? I'm not the primary caregiver, my husband is, but I also have a successful career. And I feel the pressures of being, if I were the only breadwinner, I couldn't do it alone. Right. And so that stresses me out on the single moms, the working moms like myself. What are they doing on their own? We need to change that. Right. We need for every working mom to be able to have their own home, and I have a daughter. I want her to be independent too. Right. Primarily your home as a woman, a Latino woman. My primary role is to take care of my family, right? My son, my daughter, my husband, my home. That's my priority. But at the same time, I'm able to have a career, right? And that's because America gave it to me, right? 25 years ago. This is 25 years in the making. If I started today, there's no way I could do that. I'd have to pick, right? And unfortunately, I'd have to pick on building a career to provide for my family. And now I'm not home enough for my kids. That's not fair, and we need to change that. And I know we could do that here in New Jersey.
So, Marcela, to that point of economic stress and strain on families, there was a time in America not that long ago when I'm not that old, okay? And when I was young, I lived in a very middle-class neighborhood where most families didn't just get by, they actually thrived on one single income. And that was the norm in America. We've gone very far away from that. And I think mostly because of bad policies. Is that an aspirational goal that's worth New Jersey pursuing, that's worth America pursuing to get back to that place economically?
100%. I mean, it's interesting. When we were 100, not that long ago, there wasn't something called paternity leave, right? It was only maternity leave. And it was a small window. Now there's paternity leave, which, give or take, I appreciate, I don't, whatever. But I think it's the foundation of that one, you're right, that single income family source. We should always focus on that. You need two parents to make a household. You need a mom, you need a dad, right? The children need both their parents, and having a single source income, that stress, that one parent can be able to be the breadwinner and the rest of the family can live and manage that and get the kids to where they need to be, is, the American dream, right? We need to go back to that. We can go back to that. And it to your point, it is 100% due to really bad policies, because our politicians, right, have been focused on just getting elected. They get elected, and as soon as they get into that seat, they're focusing on getting elected again, as opposed to coming in and fixing the problems, right? But people like me now, these working moms that have been, 5 days a week in the office, are now 3 days a week in the office, 2 days at home, taking account and holding people accountable. Very, very smart women I've met now here in New Jersey. I haven't realized the level of expertise and success that are now holding these politicians accountable. We're not political in nature at all. That's your job to do. We thought you were doing your job, but now you're impacting my pocket and you're impacting my children.
Yeah.
So we're gonna come out in droves and hold them accountable. These policies are written to keep politicians in seats and elected seats, and then they're making money off of that. Like, how does that make any sense, right? And then we can't afford it. So 100% has to do with issues with policies, bad policies for the working class.
Now, you mentioned becoming a legal immigrant to this country, becoming an American.
Yeah.
Tell us about that journey. What motivated your family? Why leave Ecuador? Why come to the United States?
Yeah. So my dad is a welder, retired now. My mom was a homemaker. She didn't work in Ecuador. When she came here, we'll talk about that in a sec. But so my dad was a merchant marine. He, 5th grade level education, had to stop going to school in 5th grade to help provide. Worked locally in Guayaquil, in the outskirts of Guayaquil, which is a port city in Ecuador. Eventually became a merchant marine. So he jumped on a ship, traveled the world, fixing the ship, right? Weldering and whatever it is that you do in a ship. And then traveled the world, went to Italy, went to Greece, went to London, all these different places, spoke French, Italian, Greek, and then came back, married my mom, had us, my brother, myself. I'm the oldest, younger brother, and realized there's no way my kids can have a good chance at life, right? Ecuador is a very socialist country, very suppressive in terms of women getting ahead.
No.
He wanted his firstborn to be a son, happened to be a girl, had to, pivot there and realize there's no way my daughter can have a real success, a real chance of independence. And he had a choice, either America or London. He fell in love with London. Thank God he chose the U.S., right? Because, London's a little bit socialist too. Chose the U.S. to come and took us. July 1983, remember this to this day, walked in with his suitcase full of LPs, those 12-inch records. It's a huge collection. That's what we took, plus a couple of, pieces of clothing on our back, and lived in my aunt's basement. Did it right. My aunt was here, sponsored my father with the three of us, moved into my aunt's 1-bedroom basement, and lived there for a few years. My mom had to work, started to work, began sweatshops, did the sewing machine. She knew how to sew, so she went into the sewing machine business for a little bit. That wasn't working, and was able to get into housekeeping. So she worked at the Warwick Hotel for 25 years, retired from there, housekeeper, very proud of her job, loved to commute into the city. And then my dad worked in the shipyards in Newark.
Okay. So blue-collar immigrant family that worked hard with their hands.
Correct. Yeah. No network, right?
Mm-hmm.
We came from Ecuador, 1980 July. There's no network. So when I grew up in Jersey City, my brother and I used to get bullied all the time, right? Because we're a little different, right? And that's fine, right? We're a little different. But we went through all that. But that didn't deter us from trying to continue to, reach the American dream.
Yeah.
So
I was going to say, you love this country enough to become a Marine.
Right.
Tell us about that.
Oh, yeah. So Remember, no network, blue collared, go to college. My dad took a second job to pay for my high school. So I was going to
So wait, to go to private high school, your
Yeah.
father took on a second job,
Second
so
job.
that you could go to a great school.
Yeah.
Wow.
because in Jersey City, my school of choice, because it's by zip code, was Snyder High School, one of the most dangerous schools at the time, probably still there too. And there was no way my dad was going to send me there. So he took a second job to put me through a private high school that helped me get into Rutgers. Okay, so now going to Rutgers, learning the lay of the land. My parents didn't teach me, right? So trying to figure it out, there's these things called internships and internship programs. And, you tap into your network to get help, to get an intern gig. I don't have a network.
Yeah.
I don't know where to start. A bunch of friends at college were going to go see this recruiter, right? This Marine recruiter. I'm like, what is a Marine? I don't even know what that is. So I'm like, oh, let me come with them. I go with them and I'm listening. I'm like, oh, that sounds kind of cool. Like that, it's an intern program I could do over the summer. And then it's this reservist program, 2 weeks a month, 1 week in a month, 2 weeks a year. Well, I can do that, right? And it gets me my internship. So I asked the recruiter, can I sign up? And he's like, no. I'm like, excuse me? Well, no, women don't apply for the Marine Corps. I'm like, okay, you just told me no.
Yeah.
Wrong answer. So
Sounds like he just challenged you.
correct.
Yeah.
So took the test, did the whole thing, joined the Marine Corps without having any knowledge of what it meant. Thank goodness it is the best branch in the world. And joined the Marine Corps, really just because I didn't know what the next step was to getting an intern program and getting my life together, right? I just, because I didn't know what I wanted to do after college. Again, I just didn't have that network or that mentorship at the time because my parents never did themselves, right? So I was figuring out myself. Joined the Marine Corps, best thing I did in my life. Like right-sized me, taught me all the discipline, everything that I am today. I didn't realize that as I was living through it until about 10 years ago, taking stock about my life, my success, what I did wrong, what I did right, how it really has been because of the Marine Corps, right? And I learned the love of this country, right? And I really appreciate what we do. I lost a lot of Marine brothers throughout some of the wars in 2003. Lost them after that. Suicide. I do have PTSD too, not to the level, right? Because I've made it my, I made it my mission to be successful, especially when I met my husband. I had my children. I have to be successful. But I realized some of the struggles do come back to some of that PTSD because I see it in my Marine brothers. And I didn't realize I was struggling. That transition when you get out of the Marine Corps and into civilian world is pretty hard. And it did hit me. But, I worked through it, right? And I think being a Marine helped me to, and then my parents too, their hard work, and then just their, persistence in becoming successful helped me get through that. But there was a transition. And I do feel for that. What I don't understand is the lack of support the government still gives us.
Right.
There's the Veteran Affairs, there is programs, but it's not strong enough.
Politicians in Washington love to send our young men and women all over the world to fight and then neglect them when they come home with serious problems, whether physical or mental, right, caused by those very wars.
100%. And I get it. We're broken, right? The PTSD turns into addiction. And then it feels like we become, deadbeats, right? But we're not, right? We struggle severely, and we really need to continue to help and not give up because of them, you have this freedom.
Right.
And that's why you continue to get elected over and over and over. And so we need to make a change in that too, give a little more focus. Yes, there's the Veterans Affairs, and yes, there's programs, but we need to make it almost mandatory. That's part, when you sign up, when you commit for 4 years, 8 years, 20 years of your life to defend the freedom of this country, we should be committed in perpetuity in their life, whatever that means. And, and I'm happy to work with the right people to figure this out because that's what we should be doing at the end of the day.
Your Marine story sounds a little bit to me like J.D. Vance's, right? Who, he credits the Marine Corps for completely changing his life because he had a pretty troubled childhood, and the Marines gave him such discipline, such focus. And I think the reason he's the Vice President of the United States now is mainly because of the U.S. Marine Corps. So it sounds like you had, in some ways, a similar journey. You didn't have a troubled childhood, thankfully, but in terms of what the Marines did for you and focus and discipline, do you identify with J.D. Vance somewhat because of that?
I do. And, at first, again, just being honest, I'm like, who is this guy? Like, is he really going to be our vice president? And then looking deeper and deeper, he's the type of politician we should continue to have. People who have walked the walk, not just talked the talk. So I do relate a lot. And, I didn't have a troubled childhood, but my brother did, right? So, my parents did their best they could with their means, and I was able to persevere and get through it. But my brother kind of fell into hard times. He actually passed away last year. He had liver disease. He was an addict. We didn't realize that. Spanish people, think like, it's fine, we'll work through it, and we suppress it. So I did go through some of, a little bit relating to JD, not as much. So I saw that and get it. But again, going back to the Marine Corps, that helped me throughout, getting through some of those hard times in life, right? So with him, I do like him very much in terms of that. He should be talking more about the Marine Corps, to be honest, but understood and excited to see him there.
Okay, well, so let's talk about some other politicians. Let's talk about Mikey Sherrill, who you took on in a congressional race, now running for governor. What is wrong with Mikey Sherrill for New Jersey?
Everything. Where do we start, right? Education. Never talks about the mistakes that Governor Murphy made when shutting down. And then we still are suffering from COVID learning loss. Today, my little guy, he's 10. I have thrown everything in the kitchen sink to get him caught up, and we're still behind the scenes. And we can afford it now, right? I can give him extra tutors here and there. I can afford now to send him to a private school. And he has major loss in learning because of the shutdown. She never talks about that. She's not showing a program or a plan to remediate that for the working family that can't afford, right? Extracurricular activities. Why isn't she laying out a framework of saying, let's address the loss of learning in New Jersey? She has not talked about the stats that just came out of how horrible we placed in the country. Where is that plan? That's what's wrong with her. Taxes continues to drive our taxes up. There's no mention there of any budget costs, budget cuts, or any of that.
Well, and I'm sure you know all too well, highest property taxes in America in New Jersey.
Right. Where is her plan in that? And then again, but she's focusing on Pride Month. She's focusing on gender fluidity. She's focused on giving 5-year-olds the okay to decide to be a girl or a boy when they can't they can't read or write, but yet they can make a decision on whether you want to be a girl or a boy. How is that a priority? So everything is wrong with her. And let alone, she's a veteran herself. She started a plan. Where is the plan? There's no real program. She wants to run the entire state. Where's her veteran program to improve the suicide rate, etc.? Why isn't that her priority? None of that comes through. Right? And so we can't have her as the candidate. And lastly, she's not speaking as a woman for me, right? At all. Because those are the hot button issues for, a working mom that lives in New Jersey. Education, higher taxes, right? And she's not talking about that. So there's a huge disconnect.
Yeah, it seems to me that she is running in a New Jersey of a couple decades ago, not the New Jersey of today that has shifted so much. Is that a fair assessment?
That's 100%, right? She has not realized that the Latino community is here and we're here to stay. and you're talking in a completely different language, right? All we hear is yappity yap, high level, very, PhD grade, political rigmarole. We're not hearing, are you going to make sure my kid's getting a better education? Can I afford my home? Can I retire here? We're not hearing those words. We hear these crazy lingos that we can't understand. So right there, she's losing the battle in a Latino community. And then, and then when it comes to statewide politics, I just don't see it. I don't see her having a full reach there when it comes to the Latino community.
Now, how about on the other side? Do you have confidence that Jack Ciattarelli would be the kind of governor you need?
Well, as long as he sticks to the issues, again, I'll repeat until someone listens. The issues are education and then, financial freedom in New Jersey. As long as Jack listens to us, that education is primarily our biggest issue in New Jersey, and then fix our budget, then he should be a shoo-in into the governor's house in New Jersey.
Yeah. No, that makes sense at the state level, right? I mean, you're not talking national security issues generally, right? Not immigration primarily, although it's an issue, but at the state level, education, cost of living, public safety, right? I mean, those kind of bread and butter issues should elect a governor and determine whether or not a state is successful.
Right, and that's a good point. Public safety. Again, no one's talking about that either on the Dem side, right? Again, Mikey Sherrill, where are your talking points to keep us safe? No talking points there, right? As a matter of fact, she wants amnesty or let's make everyone legal, including the criminals, right? I'm an immigrant. I came here legally. I want everybody to do the same the way I did, but I'm dead against illegal criminals here living. We have an immigration problem. We need to solve it. There are illegal folks here that have made a living that we need to figure out a path to citizenship. Pay a bunch of fines, right? Pay back taxes. There are ways to do that, right? Commit to the government, right? Just like, community service, figure out a program where they can give back to the community so that it's not amnesty, right? But you need to protect our borders, get the illegal criminals out, and then focus on repairing what's here, the right folks here.
So given what your family went through to come here legally, does it offend you that the Democrats constantly push to make all illegals effectively citizens?
100%, because they're using us as puppets. They really believe we're that ignorant. They really believe we just don't know and we don't count. So we'll just say whatever we want and they'll just follow us like puppets, right? And that's offensive to me. And now I'm educated. So that's double offensive because I understand now what you're saying. I didn't understand that 20 years ago. And the more I learn, the more I independently get to understand what's happening, it's very offensive. You're telling me that I'm only good for cleaning houses and taking care of babies. That's it. Mind you, I'm not, right? I'm a little bit more than that, but that's because all my people can be a little bit more than that. And that's all the Democratic Party is placing us. Anyone of color is supposed to only clean or take care of babies, right? Or work behind a counter. And that's completely racist. That's racist. That's not fair. That's not inclusive. That's not diversity. That's a bunch of hoo-ha.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Well, and the numbers show it that a lot of people agree with you, particularly Hispanics in northern New Jersey, right? I mean, these moves are astounding, right? The fact that Donald Trump won Passaic County, a town like North Bergen, which is 70% Hispanic. He didn't quite win it, but after losing it by 50-something% in 2016, he lost it very narrowly this time. I mean, the moves are unbelievable. And again, getting the attention of the political world across America, not just here in New Jersey.
That's right. And but here's what's interesting. Now New Jersey is a national shiny new toy, right? But we're not a shiny new toy. We've always been here. We've everything that came out in the general election last November has always been here. It's just been so bad, we had no choice, right? We need now to continue the momentum. We need, bottoms up, grassroots, local representation to continue the momentum. And that's why Jersey First is the right organization to support, right? We are a state-based organization that's focusing on issues locally here. Right? If the national community is listening, you need to call us, right? You need to support us because we're focused on issues first, right? It's a center-right, issues-based organization, right? But we will work with any party that focuses on the issues: education, school choice, financial freedom, right? Giving it back to the people, right? Which she will never be. Mikey Sherrill decides to focus on our issues, we'll talk to her. We'll get our grassroots coalition and movement behind her, but that will never happen, right? Again, Jack, we need to sit down and make sure that you focus on the issues to support the right candidate that the issues are based. Now, Jersey First does not endorse, but focuses on the issues, right? And again, the national movement that's what you need to focus on, is not on a candidate per se, because candidates are going to come and go, right? Especially at the governance level, there's a term limit, thank goodness, right? But organizations like us, we're the ones living and breathing this every day. So we should partner up and focus on the issues and continue to support policy movement as opposed to candidate.
Sure, I get it. Policy and principles
Always.
over candidates. We need good candidates, but
Correct.
policy and principles first.
100%. Yeah.
Well, Marcela, listen, you are really inspiring, a successful businesswoman, a mom, a Marine, a legal immigrant, somebody who clearly has taken action and loves her state, loves her country. Just pleasure meeting you.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. So nice to meet you.